Ah! Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Stratosphere Lounge coming to you from the Stratosphere Lounge. Now, what is she doing playing? Do you have the mute on there? Oh, it's me. It's me. It's a Stratosphere Lounge with about a 5-6 second feedback. I'm coming to you live from my own iPad, but you know what? We're getting there. We're actually getting there. You're talking to a man who may seem a little further away from the camera than he has in the past, but it's only because we have a second camera, a close-up camera. My God, let's see what the fans are saying. Are they going mild? Are they going mildly wild over this? We'll see. It is good to be here. Really good to be here. You're gonna have to mute that down, I think. Well, I'm here on my own iPad. That's what it is. Jeez, it's freaking me out. You know, we're gonna get the hang of this eventually. But here is everybody got 21. Hey, I can see myself and everything. If it seems like it's running a little slow, we just saw a comment there that says running a little bit slow with lots of stalls because we're actually recording in HD and we're streaming in HD, and we can stop doing that next time if it turns out that's not working. But I thought, hey man, let's do like a big splash opening, with a big banner. There's the homunculus bill, the small tiny servant bill, which is brought to you from out of the depths of time, and we're back to a close-up. And I have to tell you guys honestly, this is the first show of version 2.0 of the Stratosphere Lounge. We have the lovely Astro Girl Desiree Gabrielle on the boards, as we say in the professional kinds of webcasts that we have going these days. We don't, dick around like we used to when it was just one guy pointing at a webcam. We got 2 cams now. We got actually 3. So we can always bring in a 3rd cam for having our guests. As you can see on this magnificent stage, we got room for more guests, and we can have a wide shot with the 2 of us, and then we can have crossing close-ups like this one, and then there'll be another one. So, we're actually starting to get to the place where it's starting to look like, getting your money's worth out of this Goat Rodeo and Clown Car show. It is great to be here. I was chatting with Des, as I always do. She's making sure that I've got my clothes on. I'm not running into furniture or anything. And I said, we've been through so much trying to get this stage up, get the banner up, get the office, the studio. I keep calling it the office. It's not an office, it's a studio. And we went to so much trouble getting this done and spent a ton of money. And I said to her just before we went on the air, I said, because we finally got the cameras working, we got these HD Zeiss lens cameras, and we got them zoomed in. That in itself is an adventure I'll tell you about in a minute. But just before we went on, we got to look at the shots and the audio, and got this awesome new microphone. And I said to her, I don't mind spending the money, and I don't even mind spending the time, as long as we get what we want, out of it. And I'm getting what I want out of it. I think it looks absolutely great. Hey, look at that. Lori and Greg Adams say full screen on my 22-inch screen. I'll bet it's spectacular. Check it out. Here's a homunculus bill. It's like 7 bills in one frame here, if you really think about it. It's kind of amazing. So I'm having the time of my life, guys. I'm sitting here in front of my Stratosphere Lounge banner, in front of my little Stratosphere Lounge assistant dude, as you can see here. And life is grand. It's absolutely grand. And we have all kinds of fun things to talk about. We got some questions we're going to take from the Facebook page, as always. But I thought, since it's version 2, the first of the new series, we got a new look. We got HD video. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some of the missteps that we took to get here, because there were a few. All of them well-intentioned, mind you. The biggest one probably was the, Dez's catastrophic failure of live stream too strong a term, or would you call it more of a disaster or a catastrophe? A bad choice. Yeah. Well, let me tell you one thing about Desiree. There's so much I could tell you about Desiree and how none of this would work without her. But of all the things that Desiree is most useful for, it's to walk me off the ledge of emotional suicide, basically. Because every time it's like, it's a catastrophe. It's like, it's a bad choice. So let me just give you a quick little walk through the Ustream Ustream live stream thing. Calm now, nice and calm. Everybody calm, be calm. Good, nice and calm. Okay. What we thought we would do is we thought we'd go to live stream for a number of reasons. The first reason, and really the main reason, was we wanted to get away from the ads. Because we know the ads just bother the hell out of everybody. They bothered the heck out of me too. So Livestream had no ads. We liked that. And we're looking at Livestream. We're looking at the various upgrades. And Livestream had these really cool little red boxes that I showed you on the website. And what these boxes do is they take the screen out of an HD camera, because we have some really, really nice 1080 Blackmagic cameras that we've got for time over target, which we'll be talking about in a minute. And so we got these cameras for this really nice cameras, and we thought, great, we'll do the Stratosphere Lounge on those. We'll hook up the little red live stream boxes. We'll stream out of the really great cameras, the expensive cameras, and we'll be good to go. And studio friend BillWhittle.com, Stratosphere Lounger friend Ian came on up, Ian Branson, and we spent a night working on this. I was not in the best of mood. Sorry about that, Ian. I was pretty cranked about the reaction to the Ferguson decision, and we just spent a couple hours in here. By the way, as we start to get into this, we got the little red boxes, and the little red boxes from Livestream look cool. They were really cool little boxes. They look really well made. I'm thinking, yay! And then we go to install the software to see how the boxes are working, and we go to Livestream to download the software, and it turns out that that Livestream does not support software for this Macintosh, which is kind of a one-of-a-kind computer that we got from our friends in Uzbekistan. No one's ever heard of it here in America, the Macintosh computer, so they didn't build any software to support the Macintosh, which I considered to be a bit of a problem, So it had to be PC based, so I went out and bought a PC, and then our good friend Ian comes along and says, don't buy the PC. It's like, sorry, I'm already heading back from Best Buy. So Ian says, no, we've got emulation software that we'll install for you, and that'll allow you to run the PC inside the brand new Super Space Turbine Mac that I spent a ton of money on, and works great, that new Mac. So now we're running PC software through the Mac, and we hook up the cameras, and man, is it slow. It's really laggy. We think it's broadcasting back to the network and then back downstream. We tried to get it hooked up to the local Wi-Fi. We had a little bit of success with that, but the lenses on the new cameras were really slow, needed a lot of light. And it was kind of fuzzy. So, and we couldn't get the cameras recognized by Livestream. We spent hours in here, hours, trying to get this thing going. And the last thing I did before I got the cameras in was I plugged in the new USB webcam, which I'd bought earlier, the Zeiss, mit der Zeiss lens, the superb optics of the Zeiss camera. And I put that camera into Livestream, and bam, came up right, like you just instantly saw it, instantly. And so I went out and got a couple more of these awesome Logitech C920 webcams. Got 3 of them because the image quality, as you can see, is terrific. So far, so good. Except that once we get the PC software for Livestream running on the PC, which lives inside the Mac, we start to go importing some of our graphics, the graphic titles cards that you've seen and the music that we use, and I Know a Place and all these sound files. And the Livestream software is saying, do not recognize the JPEG format, the exotic JPEG format, which wasn't recognized by the Livestream PC software. I forget what kind of images were recognized, but JPEG I don't think was one of them. We tried importing JPEGs, didn't work. All of our files are WAV files, I guess, the audio files, or MP4s, I guess, and it wanted to see WAV files, and it said accept AVI files, but no .mov files. This may seem very arcane for those of you that are in any part of the business, but honestly, it's really like going back to 1998. So anyway, at the end of this evening, we're still kind of just barely hanging on to Livestream with our fingernails. And then finally we say, well, maybe we're using the free software. There's a $700, $800 version of the Livestream broadcaster, I guess it was. Let's just buy that, and hopefully it'll unlock all this stuff, because the cameras were coming in at like super low resolution and really slow and really blurry. And I knew it wasn't the cameras because I plugged them in, launched Ustream, which you're watching now. It worked great. So we buy the software, and we spend $800. And they take our credit card number, and we fill it out, and I'm going to find the link where we download the new software, and it says delivery address. We said, what do you need a delivery address for? It's probably just a formality. They give us a backup or something. Well, as it turns out, to get the unlocked software, we have to wait until the dongle arrives. I think we talked about that on the rehearsal that we did last week, which has not been saved, so it's probably new to you guys. Maybe it is saved, come to think of it. The dongle, you may remember a dongle if you were in the computer business back in 1975 or 80 or so. I remember dongles from the late 90s, mid-90s to late 90s. And a dongle, for those of you who don't know the term, is a little piece of hardware that used to attach to the printer port and sometimes the serial port on the back of your computer. And okay, so they're going to send me a little USB dongle that protects the software. It doesn't. They don't have an access code. They don't have they don't have an unlock thing. No, just got to wait for this dongle to arrive. So I'm thinking now I have to wait for the stagecoach to pull up. I'll be able to tell by the sound of the horses clopping on the cobblestones outside underneath the gaslight of our office here, and they can unload the dongle along with the barrels of molasses and the hoop corsets that I ordered last week. They'll all arrive at the same time. And at that point, guys, honestly, got to tell you, I was pretty much done. I was just done. We'd spent so much time and effort and delayed so many times. And I thought, I don't know. So screw it. So we'll go back to Ustream because it's looking so good. And so far, so good. Now, there's one more little hiccup here to let you know what my day looks like. People often say, Bill, what's your day look like? And most of my day, I would say 18, 19, 20, 22 hours, Des will testify to this, is spent me lying on the couch looking at the ceiling so that my head doesn't explode, so that the veins in my brain don't just pop out. Because once we made the decision to go back to Ustream, everything's copacetic, everything's great, the webcams are working great. We know they zoomed because we zoomed them in on the PC on live stream, and we hook up these Logitech C920 cameras, and they are as wide angle as you can see on the wide shot. If you go to the wide shot, can you switch the wide real quick for me? Des, thanks. That's as wide as the wide shot is, and it didn't get any closer. In other words, in order to get a close-up shot like the one you see in the close-up, I had to bring the camera here. No fooling, it had to be here because the cameras wouldn't zoom. Why wouldn't they zoom, you might ask? Well, as it turns out, I spent an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours probably, on the web researching why the Logitech C920 cameras don't zoom. The C910 does, but the 920 doesn't. Why? Because Logitech doesn't want it to, that's why. It just doesn't work on the Mac. It works on the PC because apparently they're in real tight with Windows, and it doesn't say does not work on Macintosh on the box. It just plugged and played, looked great, but you could zoom at one tiny little level, like from 1 to 1.4 or something. And I, at this point, was really done. I ended up buying like 2 or 3 apps trying to get these cameras to zoom, and just when I was about finished, I finally bought an app, and I was able to get the cameras to zoom in, not all the way, on the little software that I bought on the close-up. It'll zoom into the, damn near to the pixels here. But I was able to get it to zoom in enough to get the close-up. So we're here, and it was an effort. And it cost me a lot of brain cells. A lot of brain cells that could have been productively used for more efficient purposes, but nevertheless, it's done. So as you can see in all its glory, you are now watching the Stratosphere Lounge, coming to you from the Stratosphere Lounge on the stage of the Stratosphere Lounge, and there's room here for guests up on top, as I mentioned, and as it turns out, we'll do the walkthrough next week of the new studio. We'll run the old studio walkthrough first, so that'll blow your minds. And then we'll show you the new studio, which is basically we're just mopping up now. We'll do the new walkthrough, and there's a pretty decent-sized couch here in the Stratosphere Lounge, just off camera, right over that way. And we're thinking we might do the show kind of in front of a live audience, a pretty select live audience, because you can't get much more than, I don't know, what would you say, Astro Girl, maybe 10 people in here, tops, 6 comfortably, 10 if everybody's sitting on their own laps and, kind of thing. But it'd be fun, and it'd be a fun thing to offer members, and come on down and enjoy the show live and give us a little thing to react to. So we're thinking about doing that, actually. Pretty much think about doing that every week. So if you want some couch space, you can just send an email to info@billwhittle.com, and we'll take our members first. And if it turns out there's room after the members, then we'll open it up to Facebook fans. But again, we have this kind of line we have to walk where we have to give our paying members something of some value, and God knows I don't know what the value in this is, but if they're going to be that, if they're going to go for it, I just say milk the suckers, right, Des? That's our motto. It's right on the front door. Milk the suckers. No, we really do want to make it as valuable as possible for everybody. So that's a good segue to talk about some other things before we get into the questions. Not going to do a super long show tonight, but sure, I'm liking it. So anyway, we got the cameras all sorted out. We got this really cool little mic that you can see. I know you're used to seeing the gigantic Yeti space mic, which sits on the desk, and we're trying to hook that up so that that you can hear Astro Girl's comments every now and then. We tried doing it and kind of knocked this one offline. I don't want to wait and mess around. We'll deal with that later. It's a problem for another time. We'll come back to that. But these microphones are just really cool, and it looks really cool. And just so you can see, if we can go to the close-up for a sec, Des, you'll see that these things, when it comes out of the box, it comes out like this. I don't want to close that overly too much because that's over the ports. But it comes out of the box just like this. Looks great. And then you peel these little things back, to reveal the jacks, but it also makes a cool little tripod. It just stands on its little legs like a little rocket, like one of those Tintin rockets, and I just love it. I think it's super cool. And we got two of them because we're going to have guests on the show. So we'll both be able to do our thing here and have ourselves a final time. And we're really, really, really looking forward to it. Seems that somebody is hearing slight but repetitive audio blips. Well, there may still be a couple bugs to work out, and we're getting on that, guys. So just if you can hear us at all, we're pretty happy about that. I think I'm looking at the image here. It's a little delayed, but it's fantastic, man. I'm as happy as I can be. I think the color looks good. The blue looks good. Looks like a show. So without further ado, let's do a little segue into Time Over Target. What's coming up for our members in Time Over Target, which we've been threatening to reveal for weeks now, with delays with everything, but we're about ready to go. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you two clips first, and what Time Over Target is going to be. All I've got is the background elements for the plate. For those of you who don't know, Time Over Target is going to be a daily show for members, and one day, Monday through Friday. We take your questions. We're going to start the show, and then when I start, we read the question on the air. And the second I stop reading, we start a 3-minute countdown clock on the video, and I get an iPad held up with a 3-minute countdown clock. And the conceit is that by the time we get down to 0, I have to be finished with my answer. It's a 3-minute show. It's 3 minutes, whether I'm 5 minutes or not. The show is 3 minutes. My answer may take 9 minutes, but the show is 3. So what I have to do is watch that countdown clock, and I have to try and time this so that I get the answers to end right about at time. So what's going on in the background is this. I originally thought that I would have nothing but either bomb camera footage or AAA footage. So I thought what you were going to see was me keyed into full screen footage, and I haven't had a chance to really cut it yet. These are just grabs off of the YouTube. But Des, if we can go ahead and roll that first one. So I would be keyed, I thought, into this kind of stuff, and I thought I would have that full frame with me in front of it, which looks kind of cool, but you can see that it's square, and I'd have to push even more. And I like the fact that it looked kind of blurry and weird and, and all that other stuff. And I was going to take all these things and sort of get them down. That's the stuff that you're seeing now is the ground-based footage. If you can roll the second one, Des, the one you got queued up. And then I was hoping it should just fire up in a second. You'll see this next clip that's coming up. You can see some F-117s from the air, and you can see a lot of ground-based targets. So all of this stuff in the background, getting closer and closer and closer to our target. There's a great shot coming in right now. You can see looking down on the Iraqi broadcasting building. I think that was from the 1990-91 air war. We'll take the shots of the planes out as much as I hate to see it. So you'll see all these targets that you see there, right? So this was going to be full frame with me in front of it. But I'm looking online, and I got a hold of a really cool, some really cool source footage. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having the footage that you're seeing now, we won't show the airplanes, but the ground footage targets. Instead of seeing that footage full frame with me in front of it, it's going to be in a little box. And I want to show you what we're going to put in full frame because this stuff is really cool. Let's go ahead and show the next one. So this is what's going to be I'm in front of. I'm going to be in front of these digital backgrounds, and all the bomb camera footage is going to be in a little box right through them. This is the third one, so you can see them coming up. All these digital things, will let them develop a little bit, and you'll get a better idea. Here you go. So I'm going to mix them up a little bit and so on. This next one's kind of cool. I like that. And this next one after that is really, really cool. So you can see I'm going to be in front of this. There's going to be a little window with the data stuff. Go ahead and run that last one, Des. Not that one yet. Hold on to that one. Is that the last one, or is there one after that? Okay, so this one, hold on to that. Just let that play for a second. So that digital thing looks kind of cool. That's going to be sort of our main, kind of our reading the question kind of thing. And then what I'm going to show you next, not yet, I'll tell you in a second. This is a Photoshop project that I downloaded, and I'll just show you. The next thing you're going to see is going to be the main title for Time Over Target. And the main title will look like this, but instead of the box, you're seeing basically a template with slugs in it. So inside the box will be that super cool shot of the stealth fighter glowing green over Baghdad, just a black arrow. Basically, will be in the box, and it'll say Time Over Target with the digital thing, and then where you see the other text here, it'll say with Bill Whittle. So Let's go ahead and run that, Des. This will be the opening for time over target. Wait, it comes in like that. That's just bad. I just really like that a lot. I just think that's super, super cool. So yeah, in the box will be the green stealth fighter, and then in where it says I can't even read it from here, but the yellow letters will say with Bill Whittle, so you can switch me back to studio if you don't mind. And ta-da! So that's going to be really cool. And there's Laurie and Greg Adams again with Tron. Yeah, it's got a real Tron vibe. It's got kind of a Matrix vibe to it. It's got a real digital vibe. Yeah, there's Deborah got it before I could even say it. Kind of Tron Matrix sort of thing. But it'll be really kind of high-tech looking and really professional and smooth and slick. I'll probably do something to treat the video too. Maybe give myself a little kind of a TV effect so I look like a hologram. You know, it's funny. It's funny how the video, not just the video quality, but just the whole idea of production values. It means a lot to me. I think it's really, 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 really important. I think it's very important. Next week, I think, we're going to talk about some stuff I want to do that I may move because it's a good step between what I'm doing now and Big Bad Problems. I don't want to talk about it just yet, but I've got an idea to do a really, really cool conservative video that no one's... I mean, when I say a video, it's like it's unlike anything anyone's ever seen. And I'll save that till next week. But I'll do it. Oh, SD6104. He obviously knows that he's in the Museum of Star Trek. I wish I could pan this camera. Oh, you know what? I'm going to pan it around. Hang on a second. Don't move. Everybody stay right where you are. Because what he did was he put "working" with capital letters on it, and but you need to read that with the original computer voice on the original Star Trek series. Working. All the relays, the relays in that super advanced computer. Working. So check it out. You're actually not just in the Stratosphere Lounge. You're next to the Museum of Star Trek. Hang on a second. How bad is that? I'm going to turn a little light on it so you can see it. No, I'm not, because if I do, I'll rip the headphones out. But you get the general idea. Right next to me here is Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, and in the three boxes are three different Enterprises. I turned the lights off. I'll get some lights on them next time. But the TV show Enterprise is on the top, the movie Enterprise in the middle, and then the kind of a hybrid of the new movie Enterprise and another movie Enterprise on the bottom. But working is working well for us here. So let's see here. Bring this baby back. And that was done fairly well. We didn't set anything on fire. And there we go. Okay, so yeah, you can tell it's not a bad place. Silent Glove says, Bill, do you remember the video toaster? I do remember the video toaster. I had so much fun with the video toaster. The video toaster was awesome. Hang on. Nope, that's the other direction. There we go. Yeah, real quick, the video toaster was a piece of hardware that came out in I want to say about 93 is when I started using it. It did all kinds of built-in digital effects, and I think that's where Lightwave 3D first appeared on the digital toaster. I love the digital toaster. I thought it was really awesome. Let me just tilt this one more time, then I can relax. Marvelous. Yeah, so I do remember the video toaster. So let me just say one more thing here before we move on and start taking a couple questions here. It's a little related to what I said earlier. This thing is Office. We thought this off. Well, when I say we, I'm sure Des didn't because she's got a brain and sense of realism. But I thought that getting this Office studio ready might take 2 to 3 weeks. How long has it been? 12? Something? 10 to 12 weeks? Yep. Well, coming back to what I said earlier, a lot of time, a lot of money, delays and everything, but the main thing is, does it look the way you want it to? And when we do that walkthrough next week, you're not going to believe your eyes. You just won't believe your eyes. I walk in here every day now, and it's just like, oh. And the delivery guys come in, just the UPS guys, pick up and they walk in the door, it's like, what is this place? It's Wonderland, baby. It's the Bridge of the Enterprise. It's Disneyland for adults. That's what it is. And it's like anything else. It's like it took a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of time and a lot of money. but we got it exactly the way we want it. We're going to be here for at least 3 years and maybe more. When you walk in that front door and you see Astro Girl there, she's 7 feet tall, six feet tall to the top of the bubble. And she's pointing a blaster right at the door. And when I first talked to this handyman guy, who's a big liberal actually, sweet man. I'm actually thinking about ripping everything out and starting again because I don't want him to leave. He's a really great guy. And I was telling him about this idea of offset things with a neon backlit or the LED backlighting and stuff. And I told him I rolled out the Astro Girl poster on the ground. I said she should be like right there, and she's 6.5 feet tall, and just this giant thing backlit. She's pointing the gun right at the camera in the artwork for Astro Girl. And he said, it'd be wild. It'd be really wild if you got like a motion sensor, so that when you came in the door, like an LED flashed in the nozzle of the ray gun, and it made like a space sound. And maybe we could put like a little smoke pop or something. And I said, this is the guy for us. This is the guy for us. This is who we need. Brent, our friend Brent Gates said it's Neverland. That's right. It's a place where I don't have to grow up. Thank God. So, anyway, I don't know if you guys are as impressed with it as I am, and I think next week we'll do the walkthrough. And when you see the video walkthrough, it's different than the stills, because when you see the video walkthrough, it's Wonka's Chocolate Factory. I just can't even get it out. I'm so excited. We even got a gym in here, a little home gym. It's really an expensive place just to hang the coat, but it is really just cool. It's just cool, and we're really having a lot of fun doing it. So let's do some questions, why don't we? And then not too long tonight, but we'll do an hour of questions, and then we'll get this thing online in its Super HD 720 format. May even try 1080 next time because we're feeling cavalier. And then we will get down to brass tacks really next week. We'll do a theme show next week, I think. Maybe pick a theme, and we'll get down to that. And I think maybe next week I really want to talk about this idea of messaging, because I really want to do a video. I had a really profound thought about this coming back from the Freedom Center stuff in Florida a couple weeks ago, and I am just completely convinced that I've got a real insight in a way to make this happen. And this is the last thing I'll tease about it, because I will talk about it in depth hopefully next week. But people talk about, gee, can we be a little younger? Can we be hipper? Yes, we can be younger and hipper, and yes, we can be funny. But I'm telling you, there's one thing that conservatives have never been, that I'm aware of, and I mean to make it happen, by God, and that is sexy. We've never been sexy, and I'm going to make it sexy. I'm going to make conservatism sexy, and I don't mean sexy in kind of an intellectual, nerdy kind of way. I mean smoking hot sexy, and I'll tell you how we're going to do that next week, because it's a great idea, and we got some great people involved with it, and you know who you are. Okay, so let's see. Some questions, why don't we? Let's just take them live off of the iPad. How about that? We'll just look at them in order. Looks to me like the first one out of the block is from Jacob Belchak, who says, why does the leftist tactic of mocking their enemies work better than our tactic of pointing out flaws in arguments? Well, it's a lot easier to go, ha ha, than it is to, explain how a nuclear reactor works, let's say. So on some level, Jacob, it's easier because it doesn't take much to mock somebody, and it takes a while to explain things. This kind of goes to what I was just talking about a minute ago with a conservatism. It's a sort of a sexy message for conservatism. Sexy and music and things like that, color, design, people don't think about these things. They just go right to the brainstem. And I got to be careful I don't get too sidetracked on this, but just to put a quick little note on it, if you have two people standing up at a debate and the sound is off and they're talking about issues, that's fine. But if one guy's taller, better dressed, better hair, slimmer, looks like he's better groomed, holds himself better, has a more confident delivery, people are going to go with that guy over the other guy, even if the other guy's making a better argument. And I mean something like 6, 7 out of 10 people will do that. And you don't have to like it. I don't like it. I know a lot of us don't like it. A lot of us think it's unfair that people are doing things like, they went for the young guy with the great smile who didn't know anything about anything. And, okay, we're paying the price for that. So on some level, I'm with you when I hear people say it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. They're absolutely right. It shouldn't matter. But it does. It does matter. And so the question then becomes, are you going to accept that it matters, or are you going to just kind of not? And I'm tired of people not accepting that it matters, because it does. It matters a lot. And so we can decide whether or not we want to play in that game. Now, I think personally that Jon Stewart and Steve Colbert and all that other kind of liberal mockery is mean. And I don't want to be mean. Cynicism is mean. Cynicism is mean. It's also cowardly. So this business of just mocking people, like, look at this guy, look at this square, look at no. But with that said, you can be funny in a happy warrior kind of way, and I think the way, and you can still put a point on it, by the way, an edge on it. And I don't know how many of you have noticed this, but I've been making a major effort to turn this corner in the last 6-7 months or so. And the corner I'm turning now is I don't speak about them respectfully anymore. They don't earn it. They haven't earned it. They don't deserve it. I just openly call them weenies and control freaks and genetic mutants now, because that's what they are. And I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. A couple people in the comments are pointing out the difference between Nixon and Kennedy. It's a really profound truth. People that watched the debates between Nixon and Kennedy in 1960, those people that listened to it on radio thought Nixon won hands down. But the people who watched it on TV thought that Jack Kennedy won. And it's because Nixon refused to wear makeup. And Nixon was sweating, and Nixon was shorter, and Kennedy was tall and elegant. And so the people listening on radio heard the substance of the arguments, but the people watching on TV also got the visual appeal. And it skewed people's perspectives. So, again, I think it's nuts not to play in that game. And frankly, if you think it through, if we have the argument and they've got the packaging, which is the case, it's really about as simple as I could put it. We've got the argument, they've got the packaging. What happens when you've got the argument and the packaging? And ever increasingly these days, they don't even have the argument. They don't even have the packaging, and nobody really likes this guy anymore except for his hardcore fan base. So I think that argument plus packaging beats packaging, because I know that packaging beats argument, so it's kind of rock, paper, scissors thing, right? If you got argument here and packaging is better, argument and packaging is better yet. That's the plan, is just, let's just do that. Let's just do that. Let's just get the argument and the packaging. So we're going to be working on that in the near future. One thing I can allude to, again, I'll just tease it a little bit, because I think we'll spend more time on this next week. Had lunch about a week ago with somebody I hadn't seen in a while, and I wouldn't call him a close friend, but we were associates and knew each other and got a chance to joke around a little bit. But we just hit it off a week ago at dinner, and it was a dinner with Dave Zucker. Dave Zucker is the director of Airplane and the Naked Gun movies and the Scary Movie movies, and he did an incredible political video on Barbara Boxer. With everybody in that video is a friend of mine. Everybody except for Nick Searcy, of course. Nobody likes him. Zoe is in it, and you know, all of our friends are in that video, with Barbara Boxer insisting on being called Senator. And Dave Zucker wrote that and produced it and shot it, and it looks like a little feature film, and it's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, just go on YouTube and look for Barbara Boxer Call Me Senator. It's really effective. It's a very effective ad. Really took it to her. It made her look like a pompous jerk, which is kind of what she was. So Dave Zucker and I sat down and talked about how we could move the needle in terms of the culture in ways that we hadn't been doing before. Now, what Dave Zucker wants to do is he wants to do a rebuttal to the State of the Union, a semi-serious one. He said we should shoot it in the Reagan Library. And he said if we only had some guy who was tall and, you know, funny and good-looking and could get down there and deliver this thing with a little snap. And I said, I can start looking for a guy like that, you know. We'll see. If you're not so concerned about the looks, maybe I could do it. And as it turned out, I'm an enormous fan of Dave Zucker. He's a hilarious guy. Now, the thing about Airplane is some of those jokes don't work, but some of them are brilliant. And he invented a new kind of comedy. Airplane's not just another comedy movie. Airplane is... I remember seeing Airplane in theaters. I think it was in high school or something, or just right around college, I guess it was. And it's like, what is this thing? So when Dave Zucker says, hey, you're a really funny guy 3 or 4 times in the course of a night, that means a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. So what Dave Zucker wants to do is he wants to do a rebuttal to Obama's State of the Union address. And the one thing we had in common immediately when we started talking about this is we said, if we're going to do a rebuttal for the State of the Union, it won't be the official rebuttal, obviously, because the Republicans could do it, but they won't. They'll do it in a basement again. or have Marco Rubio out there standing in front of lights, asking for a drink of water, and the whole world will just grind to a halt. The time will stop in the time it takes for him to drink his water. Dave said to me at dinner, he said, Bill, if you do that in front of an audience, you can take a drink while people are laughing or applauding. I said, I like the way you think, Dave. So what we would do is we would do it someplace impressive, like the Reagan Library, which is spectacular. And if you fill the Reagan Library with 200 or 300 rabid conservatives, then the rebuttal to the State of the Union isn't something that comes out of a basement, where the rest of the 3 or 4 knuckle-dragging, diehard true believers live before, the wave of progressive history takes over. No, then all of a sudden the rebuttal to the State of the Union has laugh lines, and it has ringing applause lines, and it has people cheering, and it has people booing, and in all the right places. And it really is a very, very effective way to do it. So I think we can find the means to do it. We don't have a lot of time. We got really December to get in place for it. In December and a week or two into January. And what we would have to do is we'd have to have a pretty clear idea of what the conservative statement for the union should be. And then I think they release the speech about a day before he actually gives it. Then we would have to read the speech and watch the speech so that we can specifically rebut certain points that Obama was making. Give you a quick little example about this. I think in one of his State of the Union addresses, Obama was talking about the Wright brothers. Government is important, and therefore look at the Wright brothers. And I'm about to jump out of my seat. I'm screaming at the television, top of my lungs, really, honestly was. It's like there was, in fact, a government flight program, Mr. President, and it wasn't the Wright brothers. It was run by Samuel Langley. They had $50,000, which was a hunk of money in those days in 1903. Samuel Langley had the entire force of the U.S. government, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Army behind him. He built this enormous structure on the Potomac. He built this giant raft and this god-awful piece of crap airplane called an aerodrome, and it sailed off of the ramp and fell kerplash into the Potomac River. And that was the government program, a catastrophic, expensive, over-engineered failure that never came close to succeeding. The Wright brothers, Mr. President, were 2 guys who used their own money in secret on their own and got as away from the government as they possibly could and made it happen and only recorded it when they were sure it was going to work. And, for him to just come out and say, seriously, how dumb do people have to be to buy this? Well, dumb enough, I guess. So it really is the kind of thing where when you do that State of the Union rebuttal, you really want to have a couple of things that he says, that Obama said, 10 minutes ago or half an hour ago. And you get in there and get them done. Now, this thing is a gigantic piece of work, and it would have to be, we'd have to shoot it. I think we'd probably have to shoot it half an hour or 10 minutes after he finishes the speech. As a matter of fact, we probably should watch the speech on screens and get people really jazzed up, and then I'll just come traipsing down there, and come out of Air Force One and get up on that stage and laugh at these people, laugh at them. That's kind of the point we're trying to make here. Is you need to laugh at them. They need to be laughed at. They're hilarious. They're just bad people with bad ideas, and mock them. Mock them. Just laugh openly at them. Just mock them. And then the theme of the State of the Union ought to be, if we just get the government out of people's way, just think of what would happen. So that's kind of what's in the works here. And it's off of your question there, Jacob. It's a great question. So just to recap and to close this thing off, you said, why is the leftist tactic of mocking their enemies work better than our tactic of pointing out flaws in their arguments? It does work better, but let's do both. Let's point out flaws in their arguments and mock them, because they can't handle mockery. They can handle, they're not real good with argument, but they expect a little pushback in terms of argument. What they can't bear is being laughed at. That's more than they can handle. So there you go. Cheryl Twomey says, hey, Bill. Hey, Cheryl. New listener here. Welcome aboard. Good to have you. Welcome to the Stratosphere Lounge, your now official Strata Lounger. Being a conservative teacher means having to combat the loony left's stronghold on education every day. I believe you, sister, and bless you for staying in the fight. The battle is tiring, and quite frankly, I'm about ready to give up altogether and quit teaching. I would love to hear your views on the College Board's move to Howard Zinn. I didn't know about that. Oh, my God. It's AP U.S. history curriculum. They're completely rewriting history to downplay American exceptionalism. And there's a link to the Breitbart article. That's really depressing, honestly. Well, you know what it is and it isn't, Cheryl. Anybody who can see the quality or the lack of quality of today's students in colleges is really all you need to see. We did a segment on Trifecta not too long ago about how kids in Oxford are running from any kind of challenge, intellectual challenge. and they're saying we don't, the right to free speech is not really important. We have a right to be comfortable. We have a right to be comfortable with our beliefs. We have a right not to feel challenged. These are what college students at Oxford University are saying. We have a right to not have our beliefs challenged. We don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable. These should be a safe zone for us where we don't have to think about anything new. That's kind of not only new for us, but it's kind of new for college kids. I mean, you take, you could go back to the Middle Ages. You go back to when Cambridge University was founded 1,000 years ago. And I don't think you'll ever find a generation that wanted, a generation of students anyway, that wanted people not to argue about things. That's traditionally what the professors didn't want, right? They wanted orthodoxy. These kids don't want anything. And it's a result of how badly inoculated they've been and how badly educated they've been. Because they haven't been educated. They've been indoctrinated. And so their teachers are all the same kind, and they all say the same things, and it's always the same echo chamber. And they're constantly taught about how to feel their grievances and what's wrong, and taught to be victims. And so when somebody challenges these things, these kids get a little cranked because they've never had to argue with anybody before. They've never had to challenge, never had to speak about anything before. And the more that we coddle them, the less useful they become. They're just giant masses of cells, these kids. It's so hard for me not to be enraged at them. I really do have to kind of grab myself by the emotional collar and say, they didn't make themselves this way. We made them that way. We raised them. When I say we, I mean our cohort, not conservatives, because we had more sense than that. But they've been raised. It's all a result of the self-esteem movement. And when you're praised, and you're never hurt, you're never injured, you never have to walk home in the rain, you never have to deal with defeat, you never have to lose, you never have people laughing at you because you lose, you never have to deal with people saying, we beat you 41-0, you guys suck, what about your fags? It may sound harsh, but it's harsh. And one of the many things that I've learned over the last few years is this idea. This is from an anonymous conservative who, and we can't do a 2.0 version of the show without saying, in his amazing book R/K, we're not going to get into RK right now, other than to say, in RK, he says that one of the functions of play is that childhood play allows children to see whether they can succeed in life or not. And he basically says playing in childhood kind of determines what kind of person they're going to be, whether they're going to be a competitor or whether they're going to be a whiner. Because if they can't succeed on the playground, they probably on some level won't succeed in the world. And he's saying evolution is saying that that's why children play. They play to find out how good they're going to be in terms of much more serious competition later. It's a really interesting idea. So if you take kids at this critical time of play when they're supposed to learn things like how to lose and why it feels bad to lose and how to turn failure into your friend, all that other stuff, and you protect them from that, you don't protect them. You're not making better kids. You're making much worse adults. Much worse. So, I'm so sympathetic to what you're saying. It's just so awful that we even have to have this discussion, that it's even there. I am very glad you're staying in the school system, although I will say, let me just rephrase that. I'm not glad you're staying in the school system. That was not an honest thing for me to say. I was trying to say something else. What I was trying to say is, I'm glad you're still desiring to be a teacher. And of all the many things that we might talk about in that State of the Union rebuttal, I covered this in the virtual presidency on education. And in fact, Astrogirl, if you can remind me, can we, as a result of this, can we post the education version of virtual presidency? She's nodding, which means it'll get done. If I tell you something's going to get done, I wouldn't bet, not only would I not bet your life on it, I wouldn't bet a dime on it. But if Desiree says it's going to get done, then it'll probably get done. We were talking about this before. We'll get some more of these virtual presidency segments out there publicly. But in the education piece, I basically talk about homeschooling and that kind of thing. But basically what I say, Cheryl, is that right now in America, there are two ends of the spectrum, and the single greatest resource we have in America today is our retired people. If you take a look at the retired population, they're retiring at the same age, but they're living much longer. It used to be if you retired at 65, the average life expectancy might be 68, 69. You'd be retired for 4 years. Now you're retired for 20 years, 30 years. And as I say in that segment, certainly retired people have earned their rest. And I'm not suggesting you should retire either, Cheryl, but what I am suggesting is that if you were to take a home school and treat it like a school, where you had a building that you rented. You just rented a building like you'd rent a building if you wanted to open a dry cleaning store. And you get together with the parents in the neighborhood and you basically collect money and you pay for the stool, for the school, for the room. I know you're paying for education twice. It's coming out of your taxes, but this is what you have to pay extra if you want, your kid to be educated. But if you think about it, the salient point here is if you think about the expertise that lives within a 5-mile radius of your house, you think about the amount of experience and the love of the profession, and especially the practical real world experience, you could never get an education like that. Right now, chemistry is taught by 22-year-old education majors. If chemistry were taught by a guy who was 70 years old and taught chemistry because he was the chief chemical engineer at DuPont for 45 years, that'd be a different kind of chemistry education. And not only would you get the education about chemistry, you get the education about why he loves chemistry, and he'd convey a fair amount of that. I wouldn't ask retired people to sit in a classroom of today's students because they're animals, and they're dumb animals. But I think you could probably convince retired people, certainly for a small paycheck, because they could always use the spending money. You could certainly convince them to sit in a room full of 7, 8, 10 switched on kids who wanted to learn. I think they'd leap at a chance to do that. Leap. So I think the answer, frankly, is to get everything out of the government's hands. Just do it. And if you have to pay for it twice, it just sucks. You're just stuck with it. It's a theory behind the private space program idea I have about the free frontier. Yeah, you have to pay $9.95 on a credit card to have a space program, and I know you're already paying taxes, and presumably you thought you were getting a space program through those taxes, but you weren't. So since you're not, can you afford another $10 a month? Yes or no? And if you can't, that's fine too. But if you can, we can have one. And so you can take that same model to anything. And you can apply it to education. You can apply it to the American Academy, and set up a 501c3, little local one, make it tax deductible. Fantastic, off you go. That's what foundations are for. And I can actually pass on some work on that because I've started a foundation, and there's some pretty easy and not terribly expensive ways to do it. But if you ask me what I would do about education, I wouldn't even try to fix the education system. It's like trying to patch holes in the Titanic. It's going down. It's too big and it's too slow. I would set up a system where people could very easily form local networks, and these local networks would be completely voluntary, and they'd all be together, and you get as big or as small as you wanted, and if it got to be too big for your comfort, you'd split off and start another one. That's the future. Small, divergent, quick, local is the future. We got to start thinking that way. We got to stop thinking big. And then I'd have that group raise money and get commitments from parents, and everybody pitches in, and then you hire some professional teachers like you, and then you get retired people to come in and fill in the gaps, and I think you'd get a heck of an education. I think you'd get a better education than you could from the American school system at its prime. So there you go. And thank you for joining us. We're really glad to have you here. Anybody in education, I saw a couple comments come up when I read your question. A couple people in the comment stream here live said, great to have you here. I'm always grateful to have new people in the membership lounge, but I'm also especially grateful to have teachers because it's hard to find teachers. It seems hard. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems hard to find teachers who get this without all the indoctrination. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for staying in the fight. All right, apparently the next question comes from a guy named Tiemans. Tiemans. Odd name. I think it's probably fake. I don't think it's real. I think it must be some kind of fake name. Zechariah Tiemans. Yeah, that's definitely fake for sure. It's looks like an early Dirty Harry icon. I like him already. For those of you who may not know, here in version 2.0, the first of the new Stratosphere line, streaming to you from the Stratosphere stage here in beautiful Sherman Oaks, California, in HD. The Tiemans are, in fact, an artificial intelligence algorithm that is related to all kinds of forms of cheating and debauchery and all kinds of illegal, if not illegal, immoral activities gotten together in the name of the various Tiemans brothers, who somehow, through methods certainly unsavory and probably illegal, have managed to run up the score on their questions, which are universally superb. So, Zechariah Tiemans has a thought experiment. Take a deep breath because it's a long one. Here we go. I haven't read it yet, by the way. Take 100 conservatives and 100 liberals and place them on opposite sides of an Earth-like planet, all with the same animals, plants, etc. They're given no tools of any kind of technology other than the clothes they are wearing. Their task is to survive and build a civilization for themselves and future generations. Each group has as much knowledge of history and present-day society and technology as you would expect from conservatives and liberals in general. Questions. What does each civilization look like, and how fast does each civilization progress intellectually and technologically, given that there is already a foundation based on the knowledge of what everyday life was like in present-day first world country? Hard mode. Answer the question without referencing a certain pair of letters. like RK, you lose the hard mode. I can probably do it without RK. It's like trying to explain physics without relativity, but you can probably do it. All right, so basically, when you take the question, strip away all the rhetorical Tiemannisms, what you're really left with is what is the difference between liberals and conservatives, and if you were able to completely segregate them, how would that manifest itself? Let me start by saying something. It's funny because I heard a story about this not too long ago. I think it was one of the, in response to one of these culture of rape nonsense things that the left is always foisting on us, and feminists foisting on us. And some guy was saying that he wrote a fairly impressive article on this, and he was saying he'd seen 2 of these kind of survivor type shows where they took men and women and put them on separate islands. Now, I'm not trying to say that men are conservatives and women are liberal at all. I'm not saying that at all. The reason I'm bringing this up as an example is because it did reinforce to me this belief that different people from different backgrounds with different philosophies would behave differently. What this guy said he saw in 2 different episodes of 2 different shows, so this happened twice. The short form was that the men on the island basically got together and said, all right, what needs to be done? All right, let's break it up into jobs. Joe, you take this. We'll start building houses. I'll start building, go do fishing. You do this. We're running here and get the things. We need this, going to this, and let's get to work. And the sooner we can get to work, the better we can be comfortable. And he said the women basically argued a little bit, and then half of them went off to sunbathe, and the other ones just sat around and complained about why Shirley wasn't doing anything. And apparently, according to this guy, I have to say, according to this guy, because I did not see these episodes myself, but he said in both cases, the men pretty much immediately got down to cooperation. A patriarchy kind of a structure was established, but no one was pushing anyone around because they didn't have any legal authority. It's mostly cooperation and argument, reason. Like you're taller than me, go get the high-hanging fruit. And they said in both cases, after a very short period of time, a day or 2, they had to send men over to the women's island. And the guy said you would think that this would make the men very happy. The men that went to the women's island, some women went to the men's island. The women that went to the men's island were very happy. They were well taken care of and treated like princesses. The men that went to the women's island, on the other hand, he said were just tortured because they felt like they had to do all the work, and the more work they did, the more people sat around and sunbathed. So if you think I'm saying women are lazy, I'm not. Women work hard, and in cases of single moms, they work harder than anybody in society. Single dads, too, for that matter. I caught myself on that once. But what it does say, I think, is that there are fundamental differences in people and fundamental differences in the way people are wired. And I think that's a good launching point to answer your question, because I suspect that what you would see from the conservatives is a much more voluntary association of people doing what they feel they're best suited to do based on their skill set and strangely enough, a lot less resentment. I can adjust one thing here that I have seen with my own eyes. When I was working, I was doing some ads for. I had a production company in Gainesville around 94, 95 when I went back to the University of Florida, and there's a state theater in Florida called the Hippodrome, and it's a great theater, and great actors in it, and they do great programs. But the Hippodrome management was a bunch not only of women, mostly women, some men, and all of them not just liberals, but I mean big-time progressives. And since they were big-time progressives, needless to say, they prioritized the fact that everyone should have a say and everyone should have input and nobody's feelings should get hurt, and whatever we do, we should not, under any circumstances, have anything that looked like a patriarchy or any kind of authoritarian hierarchical structure, because that would be depriving people of their right to have input. And it's all one giant commune. And it's a commune because the people who were setting it up were communists. And I watched it with my own eyes. I sat at a meeting of the Hippodrome board, and you may think I'm exaggerating here, but I'm telling you the truth. There was a 90-minute discussion that terminated with 2 people storming out of the room in tears, screaming at the top of their lungs. And this 90-minute discussion was whether or not the flyers that they were going to send out notifying people of some new membership drive were going to be printed on either goldenrod or canary. The color of the paper, was it going to be canary or goldenrod, a dark yellow or a light yellow? 90 minutes and screaming fits later, where entire friendships were destroyed in the course of a few minutes of white-hot anger. 2 people on the board stormed out of the room, one of them crying, the other one about to cry. People inside spent the next 30 minutes talking about what a bunch of losers and how jealous they were. And this is an absolute fact. Because nobody was in charge, they spent 90 minutes plus another 30 arguing over whether or not it was going to be on light yellow or dark yellow. And the point is, there's an even better point to this. And the point is that in an effort to make sure that nobody's feelings were hurt, everybody's feelings were hurt. Because it's a complete and total waste of time to make it to put this kind of energy into such trivial stuff. They probably would have had a 2-day fight over what kind of font to use. And when you say to everybody has their input and no one's got authority over anyone else and we're all in this equally together, then what you're basically saying to people is you're saying, well, I've got to get my little paws on this because if I don't have any identity. I don't want to just nod and go along with that patriarchy or the authority. Therefore, I'm going to make a 90-minute speech on the benefits of goldenrod as opposed to canary. And I see it all the time. And you see it all the time. And Dave Wellman here says it sounds like the Occupy Wall Street. It's exactly like Occupy Wall Street. Do you guys remember when Occupy Wall Street was moving in and they were forming their own government? And the main thing about the government was that no one should have authority over anyone else. It should all be equal. And as it turns out, they all voting on everything, and then you start setting up little subcommittees and smaller subcommittees, and everybody's arguing, and some people are putting in money and some aren't, and the people that put in money say they should have more say than those that don't. The ones that don't say, no, you shouldn't. And all of it goes on, and nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. And I'd so much rather voluntarily associate myself with people in authority, and if I don't like the way they're handling it, then I'll leave. But see, if I'm in a board meeting, and I'm working for a guy, and he's paying me, and he says he wants the company letterheads to go out in goldenrod, and I think canary is better, I'm not going to say jack about it. You know why? Because I work for him, and it's not that important. We'll argue about the important stuff, maybe, and I'll put my input in, and if he doesn't, respond, then I can either leave or stay and continue to get the paycheck. What do you say to this? So the reason that Exxon has billions and billions and billions of dollars is because Exxon doesn't have 90-minute meetings where board members leave in tears about whether or not the company program should be printed in goldenrod or canary. They argue about the important things. So back to the Tiemann's question. The Tiemann's question tells me that I think what you would find is that conservatives are I can't do it without saying R and K. Conservatives are a pack and liberals are a herd. And this is not invention on my part, and it's not slander. If you listen to the liberals talk about Barack Obama, and now talking about, oh my God, what's her name? Pocahontas. That's right, that's my tongue. I can see her miserable little face. It'll come to me. Somebody will point it out in the comments in a second here. They're talking about, kind of a disappointment with Obama. The real Messiah is it's going to be this woman. She's the real progressive. We thought Obama was it, but he's not progressive enough. He keeps caving into conservative, viewpoints and stuff. And you heard this the whole time when Obama was, nominated, and it's like he's the one. Here he is. He's the one who's going to bring hope and change. He's going to save us. He's going to save us. They love the idea of Messiah. You listen to them talk about Jack Kennedy. It's like, oh, we wouldn't have been in Vietnam, and there would be money for everybody, and we'd have had free health care. We would have been out of Vietnam, and wouldn't have any troubles at all if only they hadn't killed Bobby the Messiah. He was the one. He was the one. Well, the problem is when you wait for the one, it's passive, and you sit and wait, and the one will come or convince you that he's the one. And he'll do it to gain power. And maybe rarely he'll be doing it because he thinks he's doing it for the best, but mostly he's doing it for the power. Elizabeth Warren, thank you, Matt. So we don't believe in the one. I don't. People say, when's the next Reagan coming? It'd be nice to have a spokesman for conservative values, but we don't need a Reagan. We need 150 million people who can tell the difference between right and wrong and know that if you spend more than you take in, you're going to go broke. That's all we need. We need 200 million people who can figure those things out. That's all it takes. We don't need a Messiah. We don't need somebody come in and change our lives and improve our lives and tell us how to think and what to do and what to drive. We know what to do better than they do. That's the fundamental difference between conservatives and liberals. Not only do we not want to tell other people what to do, we don't like being told what to do. And I don't think an expert in Washington knows more about me than I do. And as I say on virtually every speech I ever give, they certainly don't know more about how to run the gas station on the corner than the guy that actually runs the gas station on the corner. A Harvard MBA does not give you omniscience. On the contrary, it teaches you how to think in intellectual ways that have no connection to reality, and they always fail. So I think of all the things I would see, the difference between these two camps or these two planets, Zechariah, is um, practicality versus, intellectualism. And I'm a smart enough guy, but I think intellectualism, I'm smart enough to know how stupid intellectualism is. I think my favorite statement about intellectuals um, they see something in operation, they go, well, yes, it works in practice, but will it work in theory? That's all you need to know about these guys. It's all a train set for them. It's just a form of masturbation. Honestly, they just this idea that we're going to construct this theory and we're going to have all this stuff. I cannot tell you how much I have been reading about the Bolsheviks. I can't stop reading about the Bolsheviks. I am fascinated by them. I am absolutely fascinated by the Bolsheviks. I'm fascinated by Stalin, how he took over the Bolsheviks. I'm intrigued as if there's no tomorrow with the idea of what a government created by intellectuals looked like. And you know what it looked like? It looked like murder. That's what it looked like. It looked like murder because it was murder. A government of intellectuals was murder. And you hear a lot of apologists for communism and socialism say, well, no. Stalin came in and ruined socialism. Lenin had the right idea. Stalin came in and ruined socialism. Lenin murdered a lot of people. Lenin established the Cheka. Lenin knew that innocent people were being shot up against a wall. Lenin was the guy who used dirty tricks against all his own people. Lenin was the entire idea. And so what these people are saying when they say, well, Stalin ruined socialism, what they're saying, my response to that would be, so let me see if I get this straight. What you're saying is a system where individuals are treated as utterly worthless, where the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, where it's all about class warfare and predicated on hatred of other people for their success. And the entire idea of centralization, concentration of power in the group of 4 or 5 people in the Politburo. So what you're saying is you've created a society where the individual is worthless, where the endless goal of utopia just over the horizon justifies any amount of murder, and we want to put unlimited power in the hands of 5 or 6 pointy-headed intellectuals who can't agree on anything. And you're saying that somehow this system fell to the most ruthless of these people, like this is an accident. Happened in the Soviet Union. It happened in Nazi Germany with National Socialism. It happened in China with Mao. It happened in Vietnam with Ho Chi Minh. It happened in Venezuela with Chavez. It happened with Pol Pot in Cambodia. If you design a system that is based upon a few people controlling everybody else, where there's no rights to the individual and they have utter power in pursuit of a goal that is unachievable, and is entirely predicated on the murdering of people among them who are responsible for all their troubles, then you're going to end up with murder. It's not an accident. It's the inevitable outcome. There's no other possible outcome for this. If you put power in that kind of concentrations in the hands of a few people, the most ruthless guy, not the kindest guy, and not the smartest guy, the most ready to commit cold-blooded murder is the one who's going to come out on top. It happens every single time you apply this theory. Maybe after a few hundred years, and I don't know how much is enough for you. 200 million dead people, is that enough? That's pretty much everybody, every adult in America. That's 5 times the population of Britain or France. Kill everybody in France 4 times. Every single one of them, shooting them back in the head, do it 4 times. That's not enough dead people for you to get the point yet? Apparently not. So I think what you would find on Conservative Island is you would find people saying, what's good for me, and how do I help other people so that they can help me? I have seen conservatives do things and commit acts of generosity for utter strangers, and I never see liberals do that. I see conservatives do it all the time, and I see conservatives treat menials. I don't particularly like that term, but it's a useful adjective. I have seen conservatives far kinder to waiters and janitors and drivers than liberals are, because liberals feel that they have an obligation to the great unwashed working class out of a sense of nobility, but it's not. It's just mostly guilt, and it's also superiority. And we've been through all this before. So the short form, Zechariah, is you're gonna get people who want to cooperate versus people who want to get told what to do, and the people that told what to do aren't going to like being told what to do. And they're going to resent it, and they're going to slack off, and they're going to gold brick, and they're going to do all the other stuff. The final thing I'll say about back to the Bolsheviks is, you think that the Bolsheviks claim that their revolution was in the name of the working man. It was the dictatorship of the proletariat. Well, the proletariat has a specific term in Marxist theory. A proletariat was not a peasant, as a matter of fact. This is the part I didn't know until very recently. The peasants outnumbered the proletariat in revolutionary Russia around 1917, outnumbered of 5 to 1. In other words, there were probably 4 or 5 working farmers as peasants out in the countryside for every industrial worker. And this revolution was in the name of the industrial workers, the working class, the proletariat, Marxist term, an industrial revolution term. And what the Bolsheviks did as soon as they were in power is they started to turn against the peasants. They didn't really get into full swing until Stalin came into power. But by 1933, the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, because a Soviet was something that lasted for about a year, a workers' union, and the Bolsheviks used Soviet as kind of a fig leaf to grab power. Once they took power, there were no such thing as actual Soviets in the Soviet Union. There were just Bolsheviks and party. But by 1933, certainly by then, and in the years leading up to it, Stalin and the Bolsheviks decided to break the peasants, break them, destroy them. The peasants lived on small pieces of private property. They'd been given private property with the Tsar, and the peasants didn't want to give up their little farms. Those farms had existed in Russia for 1,000 years. And it was the Bolsheviks, not the Tsar, it was the Bolsheviks that said, you've all got to go out to collective farms. And I think when they first offered collectivization as an option to the peasantry, to the Russian peasantry, the poorest of the poor people, something like 4% of the total farmers joined collectives. That wasn't enough. So they made it mandatory. And when the peasants realized that the people from the cities with guns, that's what happened, people from the cities with guns, intellectuals with barbaric soldiers in the NKVD and the Cheka, came out to the countryside and said, you will give us all of your grain, all of it, or we'll take it. And the peasants fought back. And they shot at each other, and then the peasants decided they'd rather burn their grain and shoot their horses than give them to the Soviets, to the Bolsheviks. They killed 2/3 of the total horses in the country, just slaughtered them where they stood. Millions of horses killed by the peasants so that they didn't fall into the hands of the Bolsheviks. And they burned down their own barns and burned down their own farms. Now, the peasants were told that the enemy of the people's always got to be a class enemy, were the kulaks. The kulaks were the successful farmers. And so everything, I'm getting a lot of people saying, checking the mic. Is the mic working? Looking good. Am I getting pops? Some people are complaining about the audio, but we're not really monitoring it. We'll look into that next week. Hopefully most of you can hear me okay. Vibration static. I might be just a little close. Sometimes I get, I start to get religion, and I start to get a little fired up, so maybe I just need to take a step back. Anyway, they blamed the kulaks. The kulaks were peasants. They were peasants. They were not rich. They weren't middle class. They were peasants. But maybe they were peasants who had a horse, and maybe they had enough money so they could hire 1 or 2 other peasants to work with them together and share the profits and the wealth. So the Soviets, I keep saying Soviets, the Bolsheviks, came back out to the countryside and said, your problem is the rich peasants, the kulaks. We are? Can you hear me at all? Maybe it's better if I'm not so close to the microphone. Hopefully that's better. We'll do another check on it, so sorry about that. Static good. I don't know. We had a lot of static problems in a test earlier, and I don't know if it's a static buildup thing. Hopefully the sound is okay. Boy, everybody's saying static now. Feedback, static. I'm going to stop for a second. I can hear something. I don't know what to do about it, though. Fuzzy not popping. It just suddenly came on, I guess, huh? Vibrating. Oh, this is swell. And we gotta. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to have to continue because I can't really monitor it now. But I'll tell you what I will do. I am going to. I'll listen to the playback and we'll do some more audio tests. So hopefully we'll get through this. Sorry about that. I can't hear it. I can't hear the feedback. But we'll look for it and we'll do some more tests. So at least you can at least hear from me now. So that's really annoying because we did have some problems earlier. We thought they got those fixed. Anyway, just to wrap up the story, because we're getting kind of close to being done tonight. So they came after the kulaks, and the kulaks were the richer peasants. And they killed them. They just killed them. They killed 10 million of them, and they exported the rest to Siberia. What? It's too loud? Doesn't seem not getting any feedback indications on the mic. It's got a neat little feedback thing. But anyway, I'll work on it. Is it grounded? I don't think it is. It might just be an electric static issue. That's annoying because it loses my train of thought. But I'll just wrap up with the peasants here, and we'll go a little on, and then I'll listen to the show, and we'll figure out what it is. We'll get it nailed. So anyway, you got these peasants, the kulaks. They're killed, and all of the poor peasants say, "Kill the kulaks." They don't say, "Kill the Bolsheviks." Those guys have always been murdered. So they say, "Kill the kulaks," and as their neighbors, these people have been their neighbors for 1,000 years, are being dragged off to the cattle cars and being taken away. I don't know if that's, maybe it just needed a little static discharge. Must be my magnetic personality. As they were taken away, everybody just spat on them, their neighbors. They're taken away. This is the point, and I've had this thought very clearly lately, especially with Ferguson and everything else that's happening with these socialists. This is a really, 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 really important point. Why were kulaks richer than other peasants? Why did they have slightly more? Why did they have an ox or two and more land than the other ones? Well, they had slightly more than other people because they were better farmers. They were better farmers. They worked really, when you get right down to it, you're not talking about, running GPS coordinates through all this other stuff. You're really talking about sticking a hole in the ground, and putting seeds in it. And so what we found was that they had killed the ones who knew what they were doing. And once they killed the ones that knew what they were doing, the ones that were left were either the incapable, incompetent, or the lazy. And I just, I don't know what to say about that. That's what socialism is. It's based on envy, and it's envy of the people who were good at things. And the reason they were good at things was mostly because they worked harder. And this is what I've come to realize about the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is, in fact, the government of the lazy and the stupid against the successful and the hardworking. Honestly, it's really what it comes down to. It's what socialism is. It's certainly what communism is. It's the resentment of the successful, and it's their murder. And so, let's just murder all the successful people, and then we'll be fine. Then there won't be any more wealth income distribution. Correct. Everybody will starve together, and that's what happened. Everybody starved because the ones that were left were lazy and stupid, and they didn't know how to farm, and they didn't want to farm. They didn't want to work. And so that's what happened. That's what the Soviet Union did. And when I look at what's happening in America today, that's what I see. I see the lazy and the stupid conspiring to bring down the successful and threatening them with violence if they don't pay them their money. And that's what Occupy Wall Street is. It's gangs of thugs who don't have jobs and don't ever expect to have jobs using violence in order to get what they want, which is wealth, which they didn't earn and don't know how to earn and can't earn and certainly don't have the work ethic to earn. So, that's really, I think about it. I don't know what else to say about it. Zechariah, when you get the two different teams of people on the same island, you're going to have those who are ready to work and those who aren't. And the ones who are ready to work are going to expect more reward because they're producing more. If I hand in 100 bushels of grain, because I get up every morning at 4:30 and I stay out till 9 o'clock at night, and I hand in 100 bushels of grain to our communal leadership, and you turn in 2 bushels, and then all of a sudden we start dividing up 102 bushels equally, that's not fair. And if it turns out that you're going to confiscate the extra 98 bushels that I did, you're just going to take them away, then I just won't do them. I won't do them. I'll do 2 bushels like you did, and I'll sleep the rest of the day. And that's exactly what happens, and that's why you end up with this rampant poverty, because there's no incentive, and it's not fair, and it's unjust, and it's evil. And that's what we have to call these people: unjust, evil, unfair, thieves. Thieves. They don't have moral superiority. There are many people who are poor who work very hard, and I've been one of them for a long time. But you don't have any moral superiority because you're poor. It doesn't grant you moral superiority automatically. There are bad poor people and there are good rich people, and I don't see that there's any particular distinction between them based on their wealth. The distinction is based on their actions. And there you go. So I think the conservative world, or the conservative island, would consist of people saying, what do I have to do? What do I need? How can I make an arrangement with what I need for the stuff I can't get from people who can do the things I can't do, and what can I do for them in return? And I think the liberal island would be basically, people debating and debating and debating and debating, and then electing a few people in a council, and then the rest of us sit out and catch some rays and hope that the fish wash up ashore dead. Um, anyway, that's that. It's 7:20, and I think probably at this point I want to start a new idea, because these kind of technical things where people are having a problem hearing me is always tough. It sounds like it was pretty severe, so our handyman guy is really terrific, and he's grounded all the circuits in here. We're running just a USB cable, and we're running it a long way, and we're running it through a hub. We're probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 feet away from the computer, and I got super quality boosted cables for the cameras because I knew they got a high data rate, and I thought the audio would be fine. But the first thing I'll check is new USB cables. It's a USB mic, so it's not super high quality, but it's in the headphones. It sounds fantastic. And unfortunately, the headphones are monitoring right out of the. They're coming right out of the diaphragm directly into the headphones, so I'm not hearing what's getting broadcast. So I'm hoping that this is a result of too much USB cables, and I almost certainly suspect that's it, because frankly, I had another 6 feet of cable in there, and there wasn't enough juice to run the mic. I pulled 6 feet out, and I got the little blue light here, but I'll bet you that's it. I'll bet you anything. I'll bet you it's just too much cable, or too much length of cable, or too low quality cable, or maybe it needs to go directly into the computer without the hub. But I'll take a look at it, and I think that's probably going to solve it. So I think that's probably a good enough place as any to start to wrap it up for the night, because I don't want to continue with that kind of static. It's really disturbing. I'm glad you mentioned it, needless to say, but it's really disturbing to have to stop and try and figure out this problem. I'd rather solve it, I think. But I do want to say this before we go. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this. I'm sorry, Des, can I get that sheet? Do you have that? And I should have started the show with this, and I will start next show with this. Thank you very much. I should have started the show with this, and Astro Girl Desiree Gabrielle will remind me to make sure I start the next show with this. In fact, it's so tempting to not even do it tonight, but I will anyway. Do we know where that link is?
Yes, I emailed it to you.
Okay, she emailed it to me, which means that I dropped it. So I'm going to put it on the webpage. And you know what, Des? I'll just do a special Facebook post about that. So before we go any further, there's just two groups of people I want to thank. I want to thank Gene Dara, and I'll thank him next time especially, because Gene did so much of the prints. He just stepped up, saw that we were doing some large-scale things. That Captain Kirk you saw earlier, that's all Gene and his company. So we'll thank him next time and send a link to his company, because he volunteered to do some of these big prints that make the studio so fantastic. And I'll mention this now, and I'll mention it again. I'll do a special post for this as soon as we're done, or maybe tomorrow morning when we get this online. I've been holding this for weeks now, probably months. There is a group of Strata Loungers out there who've been working for months now, maybe a year or more, who have done something absolutely remarkable. They have taken everything that we've said on the Stratosphere. It's something like 200 hours now, I think, or maybe it's even more than that. It's 86 episodes, or 85, 86 episodes, and a couple that didn't get recorded, and they have basically taken virtually everything I've ever said or every answer I've ever given, and they've created a database and cross-referenced it and allowed you to go in there and search out 200 hours of blithering ravings to find the 4 or 5 minutes of actual nuggets that I've distributed among those 200 hours. And just the magnitude of that work is astonishing. And I'm enormously grateful. And I will open the show to them with fanfare next time, but I did tell them I would put it on the first of these 2.0 episodes. So later, better than never, special post with a link to it. And here's who was responsible for this remarkable act of generosity and intellectual effort, which goes on every day. I mean, every time we do a new show, they have to go through that and assign it. So in order of contribution, it's our user Eisenfire. It's Eisenfeuer. You may see him in the comments stream there. If you can, just take a bow. We're going to send a link to it, as I said, in a minute, up on the webpage. And then, look at that. It's Zechariah Tiemans, the fictional character who's actually a real character. Alan Pontius is another friend who we see all the time in the comments section. Joshua Tiemans is also a big deal. Paul Sullivan, I met you in Dallas, Paul. Yes, I remember. How are you? Michelle Tongyai, good to see your name on this list because Michelle's always texting me about shows and asking how things are going and asking about the new show. So, Michelle, very grateful to you as well. And also our friend Max Wild, who I've seen in our comment sections here and on Stratosphere Lounge and in PJTV. Max is everywhere. Um, I don't know what to say about that other than I'm floored. I'm enormously grateful. I am deeply flattered, and the idea that somebody would go to that kind of work, 230 hours, according to Cool Paws on there, somebody would go to that kind of work on my behalf and presumably on your behalf, is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling. Um, I'm deeply grateful and very moved and very flattered, and it's an honor. And any of you on that list, anything you ever want from us, you just say it. You need tickets or you want to be in the studio, you're just done. That's a remarkable piece of work on your part, and I'm very much looking forward. I think tomorrow morning we'll put up a post with the new show, the HD show, and a link to that database, which gets bigger every time we do another show. And who knows? Maybe it'll be worth something. Obviously, they think it's worth something because they've done it. And Wild Goose, I just can't thank you enough. He says that we always owe him double for slogging through the Lida episode. Yeah, that's a hard one to watch. All right. I'm extremely, extremely grateful. Um, and some of them are using screen names and stuff. We're very, very grateful. And we'll start next show over it with fanfare. I didn't mean to put it off to the end there. I got a little carried away with just being our own new stage and our own new thing. A couple of people said that I'm probably right in terms of guessing it's the USB cable, so we'll get that resolved. And I think maybe, I don't know if next week or the week after. I think maybe the week after we'll do the first of our guest shows. I know I can always drag Jeremy Boring up here. He's kind of low rent talent. We can probably get him for a can of Coke and a overnight, last night's pizza. But it'd be fun to have two people up on stage here again. And obviously, we've got some people who are locals, who are attainable and who would love to come in. I know my friend Dwight Schultz would like to be up here, and if we really get desperate, I mean, really, Des, we want to make sure this would be like the very last call we make. But if it turns out that we can't get anybody, I mean anybody, if we can't get the janitor to sit in or anybody, then we can call Nick Searcy. But just remind me that we'd have to reach the bottom of the barrel before we'd make that call. But again, if you're in the neighborhood, which is Sherman Oaks, and you want to come watch a Stratosphere Lounge, I think it'd be fun, don't you, Des?
Yep.
Have people on the couch. We'll do a little mini show here, and see how it feels, see how it works. And the last thing I'll say, pardon me.
As long as they bring their own snacks.
Oh yeah, bring your own snacks. We could bring a pizza or two. Yeah, bring some pizza and we'll bring some Cokes and stuff. And the studio will be ready by next week, so we'll be able to do that. It'll be fun. One of the reasons I put all this work into this is not so that I could see it every day. Although let's be clear, this is the wonder of capitalism. I made this room because Des has got her office in the back, which is very neat and very nice. But I made this room for me. I want to be able to. I put a lot of hours in here, and I want it to be fun. So this is my room, and I love my room. With that said, it sure was designed to be the kind of place where people could come in and just have fun and kind of go, oh wow. So we'd love to have you guys come in and just kind of keep it small and personal. I remember what I was going to say. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going out to El Portal Theater in North Hollywood. Astro Girl and I and my friend Fritz Bronner, who does all my booking, are going to do a video walkthrough. We'll shoot some video of the theater that we're going to get for Speakeasy. And that's going to be a big production. It's going to be a 100-seat theater. They have a 400-seat theater. If we can fill the 100-seat theater, we'll get the big room next time. Looks like the first time we can get in there is going to be January, but we're going to do a big show. Multiple cameras. It'll be me and three other guests, at least three other guests. Names that we're talking about are Andrew Clavin and Zoe, Nick Searcy, Dwight Schultz. May see about Dave Zucker. May see about Johnny Voight, some other friends of ours. See if they'll come on down. I think we'll probably have to do one or two before we can do that. Aaron Manning says not Searcy. No, I'm with you, Aaron. It's really the bottom of the barrel. It's actually I'd rather talk to a molasses barrel actually, but you never know. And that show, as I said, is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of real towel snapping, and a lot of a lot of stuff. Hey, we got a request for Astrogirl on camera, so we can bring you out here, Des. We do a little song and dance, and I'll just step off stage, and you can tell everybody about how even keeled I am, and how rational and how organized, and how I'm always telling you about all the details that you forgot to pick up and that I just got in my steel trap brain, which I never forget. Um, that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll start with the big fanfare again for our tremendous job that these guys did and girls did putting the database together. We'll do a video walkthrough so we can show off the incredible stuff that Gina's done, and you'll get to see finally before and after, because you really do have to see the before for the after to make. So you really do have to see the before walkthrough, and you'll see this magic Disneyland room of ours. We made a promise we're going to shoot the time over targets on Friday, so tonight and tomorrow I've got to get the firewall in place. The firewall coming out on Friday morning at Truth Revolt will be called Obama's Black Skin Privilege. I'm a little tired of hearing about white skin privilege. I don't think it works that way. And then we'll shoot time over targets, hopefully get those in the mailbox next week. And that means that next week we could actually start promoting these memberships, because I won't feel good until we have members-only content coming down. Also, next week on the website, Facebook, and on Stratosphere Lounge, we'll do that walkthrough of El Portal Theater so you can see what that's going to look like. And my goodness, we've spent 100 years getting ready, but as I said before, we got through year one, and we're still here, and we're in the black, and year two is going to be a lot better. Oh, one last thing. Do we have the year two banner there, Des? Let's bring that up. Here's what's coming up. This is going to be the website starting tomorrow for BillWhittle.com, and I'll try and get the Facebook version up either tonight or tomorrow. Whoops. Did it come through? It should be on the top row there, I think. If you click it, it should go into primary, into the. No, it's no. Is the next row up, Des? There you go. Try that. It's not coming up. There it is. Let's switch that in. Ta-da! All right, folks, take a look at this. Tell me what you think. This is the. I showed it off briefly, but this is the artwork and the banner work for year two. Look at that, man. I'm looking at this on the iPad. It's just really wicked cool. This looks like a TV show, Des. This actually looks like a TV show. I'm getting a little concerned. Wow. There it is. So there's the year two banner that's going to be on the website. Going to do a version of it for the Facebook page. But this is going to be on the T-shirts, and it's going to be on the mugs. And I'll bring them in next time. I'll bring in the mock-ups, because when you see this wrapped around a mug, a black mug, with those colors just popping like that, man, it is spectacular. So we get the members-only content up there, and we'll go aggressively on getting new members for year two, because that's going to let us develop these movies and this other video project, which I hope to talk about next week. I love this artwork. I love it. I think I'm happier with this than anything I've ever done. I did this in about 4 hours, and I'm just crazy about it. And it looks great on mugs. Black mug, first year was white. Black mug, second year. It'll look great on T-shirts. It's got the bumper stickers on their way. So those of you that re-upped for year two, you're going to be getting your year two membership swag. We'll probably start on the new video, year two membership video, in December, and have that hopefully running by January. And we'll talk about that next week too, Des, if you can remind me, to talk about the new video series. I'll just leave you with a little taste of it. Right now, I do two forms of on-camera commentary, and they're basically the same. I mean, they're a little different stylistically in terms of scripts. They're certainly different stylistically in terms of look. We do Afterburner, obviously, which we've been doing since 2008, and the new Mark II firewalls, and we do those for Truth Revolt. But the truth is, I don't own either of those two brands. PJTV owns Afterburner. I own the scripts, but they own the video. And Truth Revolt owns Firewall. Although, if Truth Revolt and I were ever to go walk our separate ways, I would re-own the brand, because that brand existed prior to my relationship with the Freedom Center. But the point is that if I wanted to do a video that was not appropriate for Truth Revolt, and it looks like that Mojave video was one of those, then I need to have some new skin, a new format to put it in. So mentioned this already, but I'll just mention it in closing. We're gonna do a new series called Notes from the Stratosphere, 2 words, and There's going to be a tremendous. Those of you who may remember Ejectia from the days back on Eject, 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 it's going to be a mountainous, computer generated, but very realistic landscape. These snow-covered peaks, and then on the top peak of the snow-covered peak is going to be this spire. It's going to be, I don't know, a mile high, 2 miles high off the top of the mountain, and up at the top is going to be this futuristic kind of a flattened structure with a geodesic crystal dome over the top. And the opening graphic is going to be this thing above the clouds. It's going to live above the clouds. It's going to look quite a bit like Bespin, the Sky City in Empire Strikes Back. And you start to zoom in towards the city and the dome, and you see different clouds and different lighting setups. And then inside the geodesic dome, I'm going to appear in kind of this futuristic, very, very clean, very modern, very high-tech dome called the Stratosphere. And I'm going to stand in front of a podium. I'll do it in front of a green screen, obviously. And I will be able to have a brand that I own. And I think in order to separate these things, I'm going to make Stratosphere a little more philosophical, a little more evergreen, a little more timeless. So that color-wise, Stratosphere will be blues and whites. Firewall is blacks and reds. And Firewall's a little, and this will be a little more philosophical. But what we're going to do for our Year 2 membership video will be Notes from the Stratosphere. It'll be like the Virtual Presidency. It'll be a multi-set disc with maybe 12 segments on it, 13. And what we're going to do is we're going to use, it's going to be how to answer tough liberal questions, and there'll be an asterisk over liberal. And down at the bottom of the DVD case will be the bottom of the asterisk. It'll say how to answer tough liberal questions with the asterisk over liberal. And down at the bottom it'll say, beginning with why you're not a liberal. And we did a 4-parter on answering tough liberal questions on the Stratosphere Lounge. We did 4-parter. It was 10 hours maybe of answers. We already had a transcript done. Was it Ice and Fire who did that for us, Des? Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. We just wouldn't have gotten done otherwise. So we're going to take those hours and hours of transcripts. We're going to boil them down into 12 answers, 13 answers. We did a bunch. We did 4 weeks worth of scores of answers. And it's going to get it down to a nice 5-minute, 6-minute bite-sized thing. I don't have to do a whole lot of new writing thanks to Ice and Fire. I can just basically do a paper cut of the ramblings that I've already issued, but get it compact and tight and then out there. And it'll just come down from the sky. It'll be like, boom, here's your answer. Somebody earlier said, will I be wearing my Mylar suit? Tempting. I do like the silver suit I wear in Firewall very much, but it does need a look. It kind of needs a jumpsuity kind of look. I'm going to write Mitchell and Webb and see if they still have the Vectron outfits. If I can find the Vectron outfits, then that will definitely be the answer. And for those of you who are new to the whole Vectron thing, which is a big part of our Stratosphere Lounge common shared mythology here, if you go to YouTube and search for Mitchell and Webb or Hail Vectron, or if you go to BillWhittle.com and look under Singularity, look under Mitchell and Webb Monday for Hail Vectron. It's my favorite sketch. It's my favorite sketch ever. It's not the funniest sketch ever, but it's my favorite. It was the most really brilliant from a sort of a meta point of view. So so that's what we're going to do. We'll be starting to. I think we've already ordered, right, Des? We've ordered they're on their way. They're literally being delivered to us. The season 2 black T-shirts with that design on it.
I have to call and pay for them right now, actually.
Oh, she's going to call and pay. We have to pay for them?
Yes.
I thought that we were going to get a government grant or something for that. Didn't we tell Obama that we wouldn't? No, I spoke to him on the phone the other night. I agreed not to criticize him anymore so long as we could get. Wasn't it like $28 million or something we were going to get for that first run of 20 mugs or something? Yeah, that's right. So we've actually just taken the government money and run. We're not about integrity or anything. I'm really just in it for the cash. So we're gonna get those Year 2 membership swag out, with the exception of the video that'll come later. And then the other thing we're finally gonna do is we're gonna do a big membership push, and we're gonna basically say, what are we gonna say? We're gonna say, you get a Year 1 T-shirt with your basic membership while supplies last. A Hail Vectron. Buy Vectron's golden wings. That's what we will do. Vectron Mork suit, great idea, Governor. Yeah, no, not a Mork suit. I might do something weird. I don't know. I don't want it to be self-mocking, but it does need to be a little bit kind of, what was it? When Worlds Collide, big brain kind of Metaluma kind of, uh, things to come kind of, I need a Mylar suit. That's really what I need. I need a Lost in Space Mylar suit. Uh, and if not, I'll just do it from the. God, I would love to do it from the chair of the Enterprise, like I did that Star Trek. That Star Trek Afterburner is my favorite thing. It's not my best thing, but it is my favorite thing. Um, anyway, that's what we're gonna do. So there we go. I think it's probably as good a time as any. I have to tell you though, look, I've never watched this show live in real time on the iPad, but man alive, I like the looks of this. This is everything I wanted it to be, and it's taken a long, 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 long time. But we're here, and that's always good. All right, I think this is probably a good time as any to wrap up the Stratosphere Lounge version 2.0, first show of the new look, new season. I think it's episode 85 or 86, one of those two. We'll check it out. I think we might hit the save button this time. What the heck? Just for giggles. You wanna just hit the save button? Yeah, let's do that. And as always, as always, I can't turn off the mics and the camera without thanking all of you guys for making this possible. It's been a really fun first year, and second year is feeling a lot better than the first one is. We got a lot of work to do, and second year is going to have a lot more fun, a lot more glamour, a lot more showbiz awesomeness in it than year one did. But you got to do the first things before you can do the second things. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks as always to lovely Astro Girl Desiree Gabrielle, who not only makes the show no longer the worst produced show on the internet. There are now, I think we're looking at the Google Analytics, I think there are now 38. There are 38 shows that are worse produced than this now on the internet. I think there's out of 4.5 million or something like that daily. But we're not last anymore, and that's saying something. That's it. Thanks for joining us. I don't even have to reach over and hit a button. We hire people to do that now here in the Stratosphere Lounge. So with our best wishes from both of us and from all of us, info@billwhittle.com if you have any questions. And we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you. Bye-bye.